Hello everyone and welcome back to the latest episode of Market Bites. I hope you are all doing well and have had a good week so far. If you're listening on the podcast, do like, share, subscribe. No, that's YouTube. So give us a rating and the link is in the bio for the YouTube. And if you're on YouTube, hello. And you'll notice that we have a new guest with us today making their Market Bites debut. So first of all, I'm going to introduce you to Martin. And Martin, tell us which area you're based in looking after for eToro.
Yeah, hello guys. So I'm the market analyst for Denmark. And other than following the Danish stocks, it's also the global markets, of course.
Fantastic. Well, look, great to have you with us. And Brett as well. How are you doing?
Always doing well, Sam. Fun to be back for another week of some summer market bites.
Yeah, and just speaking of summer, and before we get into everything, we were just talking before we went live how the moment you start hearing about Jackson Hole and seeing posts about Jackson Hole being around the corner, some people just take their foot off the pedal, don't they, Brett? And it feels like we're getting into that period now. Volume's a little bit lower, and maybe we can relax a little bit or not.
Yeah, totally. It's you get through that stretch of, we usually have like a Fed meeting late July, which we did this year. You have all the mega cap tech reporting, and you hit this little space in August where, unless we're having this big bout of volatility, you get volumes drop considerably. I think we haven't been above the 20-day moving average for S&P 500 volume since August 5th, August 6th. So it's been a couple of weeks. It's slow. It's nice. It gives you a chance to breathe a little bit. We were talking, before we started rolling, Martin mentioning midterm year. It's nice to get a little rest, I think, before we hit that September, October phase where we could see a little bumpiness.
Yeah, I'm with you. Embrace the quietness. But then, Martin, for some people, they actually prefer these kind of markets, less headlines, less noise, and they can really start to prepare. Would you be someone like that, or do you like there to be a little bit more volatility in the market?
Yeah, so I think volatility general in the midterm years, as Brett also mentioned before, it goes down quite a lot. And looking at the chart, it has been that way for 2022, 2018, 2014, around the same time. But you can also find it in other parts of the market, precious metals, healthcare, energy. But for the broader market, for sure, the volatility is kind of low. And so I use the time to look in other places.
Yeah, there's always ways you can keep yourself busy. Just having a quick look. And anyone listening to this podcast would probably have noticed throughout the day, if you're busy on X or eToro, Moderna up well over 100% positive and promising results for a cancer vaccine, which would be fantastic if that is to be the case. And forgotten stock, to be fair, it was down quite heavily, wasn't it? And then suddenly, next thing you know, it's up, big percentage. This is one where, and I've had it a couple of times, where you buy a stock. And listen, if you bought Moderna, you're not going to know right at this very period this headline's going to drop. But then you turn on to your app and look at the portfolio, and suddenly you see it up 140, 150%. You're pretty happy with that, aren't you, Martin?
It's quite crazy. It's a long time ago that we've seen, and I might not ever have seen, a larger stock, because it's not penny stocks, right? Yeah. Larger stock going up this much. So yeah, it's absolutely crazy. I also think there's a lot of signal in it, though, that like the whole healthcare industry is going up today. Eli Lilly is up 5-6%. A lot of the smaller names, Arc Genomics is up 6%. I think there's some signal in that we do see some cancer treatment, which this was the phase 3 study of a positive cancer treatment study from Moderna and Merck. And the signal is that could these healthcare companies start to use AI more to, actually do well in these pipeline projects that they have? And will we see some of that momentum and craziness that we've had in the AI related, like the memory stocks and the, CPU, the semiconductors? Is this the signal that it will turn over into healthcare? That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, something to keep a close watch on. Even Hims and Hers is up 5% today, and that's a stock that's been under a
Yeah.
lot of pressure in recent weeks, recent months. You look at Novo Nordisk as well, up today, and that's struggled a fair bit over last year and a half or so, from being the biggest European stock at one point.
Yeah.
So certainly an area we can focus on in future episodes, and worth people looking into a little bit more now. I'm tempted to say, or before this episode, I was tempted to say, because it's quiet, we can focus on some predictions. But with stories like Moderna, it's never quiet, and this goes to prove that point. But what I did earlier, and for those listening, we have like an analyst chat group. We obviously have meetings and all of these kind of things anyway. But in the chat group, I asked our analysts to give me some predictions, not necessarily things that they think are definitely going to happen, but more they could happen. So we'll go through those, and I think it's quite a good episode to put things on people's radars that maybe aren't on them. So we'll discuss them. We'll maybe chuck a little percentage view that we think it could happen between us, and then discuss what markets could move based off of the headlines, if it's about a sector or an industry or just an outright prediction. So Brett, Martin, that sounds good to you?
Let's do it.
Let's do it, yeah.
The first one, I'm going to go in chronological order from how I saw them posted by our analysts. Big shout out to our eToro analysts, of course. And the first one was the Clarity Act signed into law. Martin, and by the way, all of these have to happen by the end of the year. What's your initial view on that, likelihood? How do you see it?
It's like, if I had to do like a probability, I would do 50 right in the middle. Boring answer. It's like it's always happening next month, and it has been happening next month for such a long time. So I'm gonna say no.
Okay, interesting. And Brett, I guess if we were to, let's say it happens, winners wise, you'd be obviously thinking generally about Bitcoin, crypto in general, but
Sure.
exchanges would do well as well. You imagine your eToros, your Robinhoods, your Coinbases. Would you be looking at those?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that's a good read through on it. And speaking like broadly on Clarity Act, anytime there's like an open piece of legislation, especially like, in a space like crypto where legislation is, it's pretty new. Anytime we can get that uncertainty removed from the discussion, I think is generally a positive. So if, we can start to see, this is a big catalyst, and it's been talked about for a long time. And, it's just sort of like Martin says, like every month the can gets kicked down the road a little further. And, so maybe happening in 2026 is, sort of falling off the probability train there a little bit. But, anytime we can get that uncertainty removed, it's a positive, I would say, for the ecosystem. So to your point, from the exchange to the actual underlying asset, and in this case, the actual cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, would be a positive in my view.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I do wonder the closer we get to it potentially happening, whether it then on announcement becomes a sort of buy the rumor, sell the news type event. So I think that's always something for investors and traders to be aware of. For example, if the whole industry and sectors rally into this headline, it's kind of priced in. So I think people do need to be a little bit cautious on that. So Martin, we're going with you on a coin toss here. Brett, I mean, I'm going to trust Martin on this. I think it is around 50%. Brett, do you agree, disagree? Where are you going?
Man, I hate to put the odds on anything that has to do with with Capitol Hill. I would go maybe 25%. I have low faith that they would be urgent on this.
Listen, that's what makes a market. And remember, if you're on YouTube, drop us a comment if you agree, disagree. I think we're talking rubbish. We're always eager to hear what makes a market. The next one was someone saying Meta to close the year, or close a day. Actually, they weren't specific, below $400. Now, roughly at the time I looked, that would be a 26% move to the downside in 4 months. So firstly, to say it's not impossible. Martin, any sort of initial view on this?
I think that Meta, time and time again, the market do tend to underestimate it. and then it comes out swinging, and it will outperform eventually. And yeah, I think the same is going to happen here. I think it's going to close much higher than what we are currently. That's my reading of Meta.
Brett, but are you on board with that, or do you think there's possible chance that into the back end of the year, Meta goes down? And I guess, by the way, if you were to be bearish on AI and tech, you could also think it could go down for other reasons. But is it a case of that, or never bet against that?
Boy, I have a hard time thinking that they will go down that much further from current levels. I don't hold them in like the upper echelon of the Magnificent Seven at this time, especially with we're starting to sort of see that pivot within those big hyperscalers, the big spenders. Those that are seeing that payoff are starting to come back to life. You're seeing the Amazons, the Microsofts. Meta is not in that group yet. Maybe the next round of earnings will start to show a similar development for them and brings their stock back to life. At the same time, this name was not spared at all in that last bear market we had 4 years ago. That's not to say I think we're going for that type of decline, but it's just to say that Meta has been left behind before. It could happen again, but I have a hard time seeing under 400. That'd be a tough one.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, to drop 26% in 4 months, I'm gonna 1 in 10 chance. Yeah, 10%. Anyone higher or lower than that?
No.
That would be 50% off the highs too, for what it's worth.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Nvidia exceeds 6 trillion market cap. It's currently at 5.3. We got earnings next Wednesday. So no matter how quiet it is in the build up to next Wednesday, we've got something to talk about. It's the big one, the big earnings. So it actually doesn't really need to push on that much more, around sort of 12%. I mean, I think they're going to crush earnings. However, all of their earnings recently have been amazing, and the share price hasn't necessarily gone up. I mean, Brett, we've done this podcast loads, haven't we? And previews for Nvidia and reviews, and sometimes it just can't push on after a solid earnings. So with that said, for it to go up 12% in 4 months, are you confident of that? Or do you think as well, maybe if it's going to happen, is actually going to be down in the back end of the year?
Yeah, there's the earnings reactions. For Nvidia, we've got to the point where we know the numbers are going to be stellar. It's more a question of what's the sentiment going to be following the report. Are they going to buy it, or are they going to sell it? So far, it's really not participated in the rally as much as you would have thought, given how well semis have done this year. I'm still going high though. I think like 85% chance we see 6 trillion on its market cap this year.
Martin, higher, lower? Agree with that?
Yeah, I agree. Overall, I'm not sure it's going to go that high, but I mean, look, we have the biggest technology boom like the last, I don't know how many years since the railroad build out, and the leading company behind that is Nvidia. So it should be the biggest company in the world as well. Like just by that logic. I will say though, there will probably be, in my book, there's probably going to be another correction within those 4 months, and then we're going to sprint higher.
Yeah, I guess it's just the timing of when it would, in theory, go above 6 trillion. And I do wonder whether, this year there's been times where Nvidia's been a stock to hold, not buy. So if you've already got it, you don't sell it. But until it's at an attractive price, or maybe valuation for some people, you don't want to get in. But we have seen that when it drops, it gets bought up aggressively and can have some really good days. But I think we're all of the view 6 trillion feels like it should happen this year. It's just going to be a decision about when. Brett, Democrats to win both House and the Senate. A lot will change by the time we get there. So with your view at the moment, what percentage are you like, you know what, that could happen?
Yeah. Did you say earlier we could pass? I won't go 50-50. I'll go 2/3 chance they can do it. I think a lot of issues with inflation. You look at the geopolitical situation is not popular in the U.S. What's happened with gas prices is certainly not helping. A lot of things that are, you still go to the grocery store, you still go to get gas, and both of those prices across the board are up, and they're things that, were campaigned on a couple years ago to be fixed, and so far little progress has been made. So if we have this type of angst going into November, then I think we could see a little bit of a flip.
Yeah, and maybe, Martin, to your point about potentially seeing a correction at some point, your reasoning for that is this into it a little bit, or do you think it could be more Fed related, or is it a mix of a few things?
I mean, it's a mix of a few things. Although midterm years, again, historically, you do have a tough time around October, November, because you get politics mixed into it, and the market doesn't like politics mixed into it. Although we've had that so much this year already, right? And look, I think I agree quite a lot with Brett here. The Democrats could do both, but the Republicans, they have a way of, when it really matters at the end, to kind of turn it around, at least if lately. And we could see a surprise. It would be a surprise. But something needs to happen because there's so many issues, and, gas at the pump is one of them. So, yeah, let's see.
Yeah, I kind of want to do this podcast where I disagree with someone, but I haven't so far. And I think Brett's view on this being 2/3, I think that's fair enough, really, based on what we know now.
Yeah.
But Martin's point is very true, and things are going to change ahead of that. And I think that's an important point for investors to think about, what is pricing, what's expected, and then what could move off of the actual result. And you think, if it was to happen in and around that period of when it's expected to, then when it comes, you'd imagine treasuries probably benefit, equities probably aren't going to go higher in that moment as well. The next one, someone has gone Fed to hike rates before the end of the year. Not a massive statement, in fairness, because it's been talked about all year. However, the odds of September have gone down. And I think last time I checked yesterday, it was 30-ish, 34% maybe. But of course, there's more than one meeting, before the end of the year. So I will go and say this. I don't actually think they're gonna hike. So I'm gonna go 33% chance that they hike. Does anyone disagree?
My reaction to you saying that was the number I was going with in my head as well. I hate to be the agree guy, but I feel similar to you. At any point this year, depending on when we had this conversation, predicting a rate hike would either be the most obvious thing, a couple months ago, or 6 months ago, you are actually crazy thinking there's going to be a rate hike in 2026. So. I'm with you on that view right now, Sam.
Martin?
I mean, I could see one cut.
Oh, a cut, actually, not a hike.
And it's so complicated at the moment, right? Because the labor market is not, does not need a hike, right? And inflation is coming down, so. But then you have the yields going up like crazy because, there's a certain guy in the US that is doing a lot of stuff that is out there on the risk curve in the geopolitics world. And but I think this is the one that is going to surprise the market. So I will say the one cut, not for September, but later.
Okay. And I posted last week that you don't hike into the numbers that are coming out from the jobs report, and someone put as a prediction unemployment goes to 5%. Now that's quite a way off where we are now, Brett. So highly unlikely for you, or a little bit of a chance?
I would I hate to go all the way to one side. I'm going to say a 0% chance that we see a 5% unemployment. I mean, we have 4 jobs reports left in the year. That would be a staggering deterioration in the labor market if we saw that. we'd have a lot more issues than whether this prediction was right or wrong.
Right. Okay. Let's go through. I'm going to read out the headlines, and then I want numbers from both of you. I don't want any explanations. I just want numbers. So, Martin, I'm going to come to you first on this. Anthropic's IPO surpasses SpaceX market cap on the first day.
And the number I give is the probability of it happening.
Correct.
0.
Ooh.
It's not going to happen.
5%.
Yeah, it's not a lot, is it? I'd maybe go a little bit higher. Like if you said 1 in 10% chance, 1 in 10 chance, I'd probably say okay. So I'll go 10%, a little bit higher than both of you. But SpaceX's IPO, what is it? Sort of like 1.7 trillion, something like that. Mental, really, isn't it? But also it did that IPO did mark a little bit of a top in the market, and certainly space stocks at the time. So just bear that in mind whenever we get a new IPO and the reaction that happens after it for any retail investors out there thinking about getting involved straight away. But yeah, I don't see that happening. Next one, let's go for copper to make a new all-time high. Brett, I'll come to you first. It's only fair.
Let's have a little decent pullback in copper. Dr. Copper. I'd say we get I'd say 60-70% chance we get a new high. The demand for metals is pretty, especially copper, is pretty high right now. Oh, sorry, I know we're not supposed to do explanations.
Yeah, you might have influenced Martin's decision there. So, Martin, I will give you the opportunity to agree or disagree with an explanation after you give us your percentage chance.
Okay, so I will say 75%, and this was my prediction as well. And it's mainly due to, the ISM, so the whole business cycle is going up. Copper is related to that. Plus, we just have like I said before, the biggest technology AI boom, almost ever. And what do you need at one end of the AI data centers? You need energy, and who carries energy? Copper. So I think it's quite simple to me in that sense. It might be the famous last words though, but let's see.
Yeah, the commentator's curse. I think it's got a good chance of reaching a new all-time high. I think the bull case, from what you both just said there, is there. I guess got to keep an eye on Chinese demand. I guess maybe for the bear case, if that was to increase. But overall, I'm with you. I think that's got a good chance. Right, let's do a few more. Okay, Martin, I'm going to come straight back to you. Actually, do you know what? I'll go first on this one. Gold to return to its all-time high, which is approximately 20%. Can it do 20% in 4 months? I'm going to say, in my opinion, 55% chance of happening for gold. Martin, you?
20%.
Brett?
I'll go right in between you guys. I'm going 33. I think it's possible. I don't think it'll happen, but I think it's possible.
Yeah. Well, everything's possible. I mean, we saw last year, didn't we? December, those moves in the metals were just insane for both gold and silver. And it looks, or has looked over the last week, that it's starting to form a real good bottom. And I wonder if the momentum is there, and then you get the short squeeze, and 20% is a big move though. But listen, that's what makes a market. Nasdaq to enter another correction, so 10% from a closing high at some point. Martin, I imagine based on everything you've said so far, your percentage is quite high.
Yeah, I would go like 80%. There's going to be a correction. Doesn't mean that it's going to end lower than it is now at end of year.
Yeah, Brett, are you on the same page?
Another correction. That would be. Would that be the third of the year?
Yeah, beginning then July, and then yeah, it's 3 in a year.
I'm gonna say the Nasdaq will avoid a correction, a third correction this year.
Yeah, okay. I'm gonna say I think it happens. I would I'll go 70%. I mean, like the Nasdaq, beginning of August, Nasdaq did 3%, didn't it? In just like 2 days, it can move a lot, and I think now we're, a bit of bad news. Seasonality, September, October.
So actually disagreeing on this one.
Well, I think 70. You think 80. Brett thinks below. But again, let us know what you think. I think it happens, but I think opportunity with everything we know now to buy the dip on that into the back end of the year after the midterm Santa rally, that kind of vibe is how I would think about it. And final one, we'll go for oil to make a new high for the year. Martin, where you at?
I mean, I said 0% before for one of the others, and that doesn't really exist in probability land. So let's go with 1.
Okay, 1%. Brett.
This might be more hope than logic, because I would really hate to see new highs in oil. I'm gonna go like 10%, and I hope that is really 0% masked in a hedged type of way.
Yeah, I think we all absolutely hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And listen, if it does, geopolitically, it's got worse, hasn't it? The impact that then has on inflation is going to go through the roof. The Fed are going to be in have no choice but to raise interest rates. That correction maybe even goes into, a bear market. Like it would not be good for markets. Listen, and when you put all of that together, it's low, isn't it? But if it does happen,
but what is going to trigger it?
Escalation, right? If it goes, and hopefully that doesn't happen. We've got phone alarms going off here, which is a great moment, I think, to wrap it for today. I'm really interested to know what everyone thinks about these predictions. Give us your own as well, your likelihoods, the markets you're most interested in too. But Brett, Martin, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah, fun one today.
Take care, guys. See you next week for Nvidia.